Hi, welcome to Crime in the Mitten. We are your hosts. I'm Shelby.
And I'm Alia.
Every week, you'll hear a new true crime story based in Michigan, from the mysterious missing cases to the gruesome murders that left the police struggling to stay on the scene. We're giving you the inside scoop on what's going on in our Mitten state. Tune in every Wednesday for your weekly dose of Michigan true crime.
This week's episode is a listener's choice. Once a month, Shelby and I pick an episode that you, the listeners, suggest for us. If there's a case you'd like to hear us discuss, go to our website at www.crimeinthemitten.com and go to the Contact Us page and leave your suggestion. Our goal is to discuss each and every one of them. This month's listener's choice was selected by Autumn Temple. The Ypsilanti Ripper, the Michigan Murder, the co-ed killer, all names for one man, John Norman Collins. Collins killed young women between the years of 1967 and 1969 in the Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti area of southeastern Michigan. Young women between the ages of 13 and 21. He would abduct, rape, and beat them and then murder them.
Wow.
Mostly all were killed the same way, by stabbing or strangulation, with their bodies basically destroyed after death, then got rid of their bodies by dumping them within a 15-mile radius of Washtenaw County. John was born John Norman Chapman in 1947. He lived in Ontario, Canada with his parents, Richard and Loretta Chapman. Collins was the youngest child and had an older brother and an older sister. Chapman left his family while John was still a toddler. His mother soon remarried, but that marriage ended as well. His mother packed up her 3 children and moved to Centerline, Michigan. There, Loretta met her next husband, William Collins, and he adopted the 3 children.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah. That's where the name change came from. William Collins was abusive and the couple got a divorce.
Never mind. That escalated quick.
And they divorced after 5 years. John was known to be torturous to animals and told his friends that he strangled a cat. About how he strangled the cat.
That's stuff that you go around and tell your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. If he's just blabbing about this, that's like sign number 1. The parents like, this is wrong.
Yeah, you know that cat that roams around the school? Not anymore.
He's like, don't worry, he is not a problem anymore.
John was smart and played lots of sports. He was a good student at St. Clement Catholic School, described as quiet, polite, and respectful. But his girlfriend said he was angry a lot and sexually aggressive. After graduating in 1965, he went to Eastern Michigan University in Ypsilanti, Michigan, his sophomore year to study childhood education, and was in a fraternity, but he was forced to leave for stealing.
Okay. He doesn't have a really good rap sheet already.
No.
As like a person.
John Collins' crime spree started while he was living in Ypsilanti. His first victim was 19-year-old Eastern Michigan student Mary Fleazar. She was only 5'2" and a little over 100 pounds. Fleazar went for a walk at 9 p.m. on the night of July 9th, 1967, because her room was so hot. A few people admitted to seeing Mary that night. A man sitting on his porch said he saw her walking, and a man pull up on the side of her driving in a bluish-gray colored car. Mary shook her head no to whatever the guy had been asking to her and kept going, but the guy kept coming back each time she was seen shaking her head no after the two talked for a second. He last saw Mary when she turned the corner to continue her walk. Her roommate called the police when she didn't return that night. Mary Fleazar's body was found on August 7th, decomposing on an abandoned farm a few miles from where she went missing.
Wow.
2 guys were working on the field when they heard a car door slam and a car start. When they went over to see what was going on, they noticed the body, but didn't realize it was a human body because she was so badly decomposed. After they realized it was human, they called the police, and they quickly arrived and found the clothes that the Flizar family had identified as Mary's. The body was identified as Mary by dental records. Her body was found nude with about 30 stab wounds. A part of one arm and the fingers from the other hand were missing.
That's overkill. 30 times?
Yes.
That's excessive. You get, how do you have that much energy?
Just all of that.
Yeah.
Her feet were cut off as well. Her body had been moved several times. When the boys heard the car, it was possible that he was just coming back to visit the body.
Wow. So, they literally they were, that close to
actually seeing
him. Actually seeing him. If they, heard the car door, close, that's pretty close.
Extremely. 2 days after her remains had been identified, a young man showed up to the funeral home asking permission to take pictures of Mary's body.
Because that's not suspicious at all.
At all. But the workers didn't allow him to. Employees at the funeral home could not offer any clear description of the weird man besides the fact that he had a bluish-gray car.
So it could have been, it's around the same car that was, that the other two guys had spotted. Wow, so yeah, that
the guy sitting on his porch.
Red flag.
He didn't strike again for a whole year. Joan Shell was a 20-year-old EMU student, last seen hitchhiking on June 30th, 1968, in front of the student union because she had missed the bus to Ann Arbor that she was taking to go visit her boyfriend. She was seen getting into a car with 3 men. On July 6, 1968, she had been found dead in Ann Arbor. She had been stabbed at least 25 times. And I saw a few different articles that had different amounts of stab wounds, but it was at least 25.
Right. But even still, 25 is still overkill.
A lot. Yeah. Joan had also been raped, and her clothes were wrapped around her neck.
That's weird. Okay.
Shell was found in Plymouth, Michigan. She had just moved into a house on Emmett Street in Ypsilanti. She was last seen on July 1st with John Norman Collins. Collins was living directly across the street from her on Emmett Street.
Also, someone actually seen them two together, seen her with him last.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then the thing is, it seems like he has a thing for summertime. All these so far, they're June, July-ish. They all seem to be a summertime thing.
But a year apart.
Yeah, but it's still in the summer.
When questioned, Collins said he never knew Joan and claimed he was with his mama at her house in Centerline, Michigan at the time. Police believed him and just left it at that.
Even though someone said that. So they just took his word?
Yeah. They just left it. Oh, okay. Sure, you're with your mom. And that
what kind of police work is this?
That was just the EMU police, the campus police.
Yeah, okay, now it makes sense. But you know what though,
it should have gone further because
this is something serious. Yeah, Wayne State Police don't play. This could not be Wayne State.
Wayne State Police be all over downtown.
I know. Look, my job says call Wayne State when we in trouble. Don't call the actual police because they'll take forever.
Down there, they said always call Wayne State because Detroit police take forever.
Yeah, Wayne State. They need to get on Wayne State level. But they should have been on that level.
Everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, we were definitely told to call Wayne State before we called Detroit.
Right.
In late March 1969, not quite a year after Joan Shell had been murdered, Jane Mixer went missing after posting on the University of Michigan school bulletin that she was in need of a ride home to Muskegon. The trip was to tell her family about her engagement and move to New York City. Jane never made it to Muskegon. She was discovered in Denton Cemetery, just off Michigan Avenue, a few miles east of Ypsilanti in Wayne County. Her shoes and a book titled Catch 22 were placed at her side. An autopsy showed that Mixer had been shot twice in the head with a .22 caliber pistol, then strangled with nylon stockings that didn't even belong to her.
Which could have been one of the, like a previous victim of his.
And he was a thief, so.
Yeah, so he could have stolen them. But that's different.
Steals?
So did he stab her? He didn't? Did, like, because it seemed like that would be like, that's.
Nope, she was shot.
Because that's, I mean, like, because that's different. Like, from then the other two, like, is he, like, trying to throw off the pattern? Or, I don't know. Like, that's weird.
The pathologist also said that Mixer had not been sexually assaulted, and the murder had occurred around 3 a.m. on March 21st. She had not been killed at the location where her body was found, and she was supposed to have met with a guy named David Johnson. He was supposed to give her a ride home, but David was never found during the investigation. Her death was thought to be related to the homicides by Collins. In 2005, 62-year-old Gary Letterman was convicted of the murder of the death of Jane Mixer. So it fit in with theirs, but like you said, it was different because she was shot and not stabbed and all that. So they realized that it wasn't even him who did it, but it just fit that time frame.
Yeah, because it seemed like everybody was just like, it was like dropping and stuff and like out of college. Because that's weird. I'm like, I hope they don't really pursue like that could have been like you know, like that could have been connected because it seems so off.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? I was at the doctor yesterday and I was telling my doctor about all of this. And she was like, you know what's weird? My mom let me move to Detroit to go to school. And I lived in Detroit. I was staying on campus in Detroit. And then I told her, like, hey, I'm going to Ann Arbor to visit my boyfriend. She was like, no, you're not. Like, what do you mean? You always let me visit. Like, no. You got, like, I'd rather send you guys to New York than you go to Ann Arbor. So her mom wouldn't let her go to Ann Arbor.
Wouldn't even let her come around. Wow.
So they took a trip to New York for break instead of her going up there to visit.
I mean, I would take that, though.
Right.
You know, I'm not complaining. I'm not turning nothing down with my collar. Like, okay, let's go to New York. There's nothing here anyway.
Right. What's there in Ann Arbor to do?
Really?
The first few murders happened years apart. The next few were not like that, and Collins began to pick up the pace in his murder spree. Just days later, on March 24th, 1969, Marilyn Skelton was missing while hitchhiking. Like I said in the episode a few weeks back when I did the Oakland County child killer, hitchhiking was normal back then for like teenagers and stuff.
Yeah, it seemed to be like a pretty
that's just what they
go-to
did.
thing. Like that was like their Uber.
Yeah,
back then it was like a untracked Uber.
Marilyn was a 16-year-old girl and a high school dropout from Romulus. She was found dead the next day. Her body had been badly beaten and looked to have been beaten with a belt with a huge buckle. Her skull was cracked and her body was found nude, and she had been molested. A tree branch was stuck in her vagina and a rag was stuffed into her mouth.
That's very excessive. Yeah, that's extreme. It seems like it's like the fact that they were speeding up, you're getting bold, and then the fact that you're doing all this is like, what triggered all that?
I mean, he did have a pretty messed up childhood. He had three dads by the age of 9. Yeah, all of them were abusive. All of them were alcoholics. That doesn't like justify anything he did.
Yeah, but you can see. Yeah, it wasn't a walk in the park.
Not at all. And then he was moved to a whole nother country at a young age. Like his life was just all over the place. That's extreme. That's it's a lot going on. Still doesn't justify all.
Doesn't at all, because I mean, like, people do things like you got military kids who travel, like who move constantly, and things like that. It's not an excuse.
Her body was found by a farmer working on the same field that Mary Fleazar was found on. As the farmer was walking through, he stumbled over her body. Marilyn hung out at the apartment next door to where Colin spent a lot of time where one of his friends lived. Yeah, so they were all like in like close range.
Right.
About 3 weeks later, on April 15th, 1969, 13-year-old Dawn Basom was found dead by strangulation after disappearing the night before. She was last seen walking down a dirt road where Collins rode his motorcycle on a daily basis. Dawn had been raped, stabbed, and strangled with a black cord.
That's just one thing. It's just like
He just does a lot.
And then it's like you're doing this in like places where people seem to know like this is something
This
you
is
daily
where
go
you
to.
go.
Like if they said like this is where he rode his motorcycle daily, people see you often
see
doing
you.
this. Like so you just every scene just seems to be closely. It's just ironic.
Close
Like you
to
know,
him.
it's just working out that it's just always in familiar places for you.
Right. She was naked and her breasts were almost completely cut off. Like the other few girls, there was something stuffed in her mouth. Dawn hadn't returned home after visiting a home near EMU campus. The sheriff working on her case widened the search when her clothes weren't found in the same area as her body. They were later found in a basement of a farmhouse near her home. They found her blouse, orange sweater, and the same cord that was used to strangle her, as well as fresh blood. Police came to the conclusion that she was killed in the farmhouse and later moved to the side of the road. On June 9th, 1969, a 23-year-old University of Michigan graduate, Alice Callum, was found in a field with her throat cut, stab wounds, and a gunshot to the head. She was found by 3 teenage boys walking by an abandoned barn. Witnesses say that Alice had attended a party in Ann Arbor on June 7th and was seen dancing with a young man with long hair. Alice had been shot in the head, stabbed, and her throat was slit. She had been raped and found nude. A piece of her shirt had been cut off and wrapped around her head, and her clothes were found in the same area as her body.
So it's like he's possibly stripping them down and just like leaving the clothes right next to him.
Yeah.
That's an asshole thing to do. I mean, it's messed up what you're doing all around though, but like you're leaving them naked. It's like you're trying to humiliate them.
Yeah.
One more time.
Basically. Soon after Alice was found, a task force was set up, and it took 6 murders before the task force happened. When you think about it, the first 3 were like so sprayed out, they didn't really think it was all the same person.
Yeah.
But after they start happening like one after the other, that's when they just like, okay, this all has to be the same person. It's time to,
this
like,
is something.
put
and
everybody together.
It seemed like he was like going on like a spree at this point. Like there were a lot more often than a year. They were going from a year apart to what, like months and weeks apart now. It's great. Like, yeah, no, because it's sad sometimes though when it takes them this long to like form task force on stuff like this though, because it's like, especially if like when you start getting all this information of like he was picking them up from like his normal routes and stuff.
Yeah,
so
they were in places he's seen. The people in the area raised money to hire a famous psychic, Peter Herkos. He helped the police in quite a few cases, and some information he gave on the co-ed murders, but also gave some useless, unhelpful leads that sent the investigators in the wrong direction.
Oh, that's great. Insert sarcasm.
On June 23rd, 1969, a missing persons report was filed for 18-year-old Karen Sue Benjamin to the Eastern Michigan University police. The freshman did not return to her room that night. Karen was scheduled to pick up a wig from downtown where she was last seen. The worker at the wig shop said she was there earlier in the day and had left on the back of a young man's blue motorcycle. 3 days later, almost 2 years to the date of the first victim, Mary Fleazar, disappeared, Karen was found.
Mm.
A doctor and his wife were in the area walking in the wooded area when they found her lifeless body. She had been beaten, strangled, and raped. Her underwear were stuffed in her mouth, and human hair clippings were found in the underwear.
I'm just like, it's really sad, but it is. And I'm like, the main thing that's popping in my head right now, she didn't even get to wear her party cap. Like, she didn't even probably get to put the wig on.
She got the wig and didn't even get
a chance to wear it.
And it was like actual hair clippings, not like a strand of hair, like hair clippings.
Mm.
When the sheriff heard about the case, he didn't want to inform the information to get out to the public. He wanted to keep it a secret to see if the killer would return back to visit the body like he had done with the others.
Right.
Officers put a mannequin in the spot where Karen had been found and had a stakeout in the area to see if he returned. Around midnight, a male was walking down Riverside Drive where she had been found. It was raining, so it was strange for someone to be out walking, especially that late night at night in that area.
Right.
When the man entered the area, the detectives felt they had their guy. He was so close to the mannequin but didn't touch it. When the man realized that it wasn't Benjamin's body, he ran through the woods with the detectives not far behind. The detectives searched for the suspect, but they had lost him. Because it was so dark and with the rain, detectives weren't able to get a description of the man.
Wow, and that most likely they were that close to catching him at that point. That's frustrating. Very.
Campus Police, Larry Mathewson, was the officer who brought everyone's attention to John Collins. In the case of John Shell, he was the officer who questioned Collins when he said he was at his mom's house that night she went missing. Mm-hmm. Mathewson said the picture of Collins showed the picture of Collins to the wig store clerk and the other witness that was in the store at the time Karen was there. Both witnesses said that Collins was the guy they saw. When investigators went to question him after that, they didn't have enough evidence to hold him. They went to him too early, and they should have waited to build up the case before questioning him.
Right, because now he's on to you guys.
Right.
Like, it wasn't going to slow down before he is now.
He is now. John's roommate said that after the questioning, he began to take stuff from their home, things like women's clothing, shoes, and purses, and just random woman things.
So
he also cleaned out
these things are for you, or and then if they're for your girlfriend, I'm a little like she should be offended.
You just throwing away my stuff,
right?
Like just clean out his car, like things he had stolen, things that he had just simply got off of his victims. Mm-hmm. John had been house sitting for his uncle, State Police Sergeant David Like, and his family while they were out of town. When they returned home and he went back to work, he found that his nephew was the prime suspect of the murders. He didn't want to believe it. He didn't want to believe it was true. David Like was in his basement where John had been and discovered what looked like blood. He had analysis come into his home to check it out, but it turned out not to be blood. While they were searching the basement, they found hair clippings, but later discovered that it came from Mrs. Light cutting the children's hair. Although that was proven that the hair belonged to the children, it was the hair that was found in Karen's underwear.
So they were still able to connect him to that.
As they continued the search of the basement, they found actual human blood. But because it was the 60s, there was not much that could be done with that piece of evidence. After the search, they went back to John Collins and told them what they found. He continued denying ever knowing or being around Karen. Because they had the hair clipping and the eyewitnesses from the wig shop, they were able to arrest him. John cleaned out his car, but they still found blood around the front seat that was the same blood type as Alice. Not only did they find the blood, but they also found some material that matched the belt that was tied around a young girl's neck all the way in California.
So everything is like starting to piece together now.
This girl she lived in California. So Roxy Phillips was a 17-year-old girl from Salinas, California. She went missing on June 30th, 1969. She was going out to mail a letter and out with a friend. Her body was found on July 13th by some boys looking for fossils. She was nude and badly decomposed with a red and white cotton belt wrapped around her neck. Where Roxy's body was found, there was a lot of poison oak. John was treated for poison oak in California within that same time frame. Roxy's friend said that Roxy told her that she met a man named John who attended school in Michigan.
So it's like, once again, it's like
everything is just piecing itself
everything's piecing itself together, and it's like the whole time he was really not doing a good job of covering anything up. When
like,
you look
he made it so far, but he still wasn't doing a good job.
Yeah, not like, but it was really just the fact that like no one like
had
after
enough evidence.
To go against him. But it's like one little tip off, and it's like they're just finding like they hit
everything.
Yeah, the jackpot.
The trial against John Norman Collins of the murder of Karen Sue Benjamin began in Washtenaw County Court Building in Ann Arbor on June 2nd, 1970, before Judge John Conlin. Collins chose to testify in his own defense after being advised by his lawyer, or chose not to testify in his own defense after being advised by his lawyer. Joe was only charged with the murder of Karen Benjamin because they had direct evidence of him in a specific case. Even though the patterns like connected him to the other and like the locations and stuff, it just wasn't enough evidence to hold him for all of them. And they were afraid if they tried to charge him for all of those, they would lose it completely.
And you can't try it again on just that separate one.
Right.
Yes, I see what they're doing.
They had the hair clippings, the eyewitnesses, and the blood that matched Karen's blood type that was found in his car. They knew that she had left the wig shop on the back of his motorcycle around noon, and the time of death they calculated was around 3 p.m. Investigators had evidence that Karen was in the leaks basement at some point in the day where John was staying at the time. John Collins' lawyers tried to get everything thrown out and came up with an alibi for John, or tried to come up with an alibi for John. But because there was so many women that claimed John tried to pick them up around the same time on the back of his motorcycle,
it's really hard to. Unless he was in like the little book, like little June bug card that you ride on the motorcycles next to him, you were not with him.
Right. John's roommate testified against him, telling them about all the women's items John got rid of after the first questioning. He also tried talking his roommate into making up an alibi for him as well. After 17 days and 57 witnesses, on August 19th, 1970, John Norman Collins was found guilty of first-degree murder. At the sentence hearing, Collins was allowed to talk, and he denied ever knowing Karen Sue Benjamin and claimed that he was innocent and basically said things were just blown out of proportion.
So to the end, he's just like, I didn't do it.
I don't even know her.
The decent thing you can do is just take responsibility. And saying taking it too far, they literally, like, do you not know that you could have been treated like, we connected you to more. Like, it's like the fact that like you were really sloppy with it. So it's not like you were, don't. That's offensive, especially to like the families and stuff like that. It's like, take responsibility.
All of those families, really.
Yeah, take responsibility.
Like, it already doesn't help that he wasn't tried for everyone else. Right. It's just her, but then you still gonna deny it.
The least you can do is just own up to it.
He was sentenced to life in prison at Southern Michigan State Prison with a minimum of 20 years. He went through 3 appeals and even changed his last name to Chapman, his original last name, to try to get a transfer to Canada.
Wait, so he thought that if he changed his last name, he was like, yeah, I'm good now.
They're not going to take me to Canada because that was my last name in Canada.
What kind of reasoning is that?
That's what he thought, but Canada wouldn't take him. He wanted to go to Canada because he would have been eligible for parole in 15 years instead of 20 years, but it didn't help.
I don't think so, buddy.
And he even tried to tunnel himself out of prison. Like, he was really trying to get out. Like, he just...
El Chapo style.
The state of California declined to extradite John for trial for the murder of Roxy Phillips. They had all the evidence, and the fact that he was treated for poison oak around the same time as that her body was found in the field of poison oak. They had the testimony from Roxy's friend, as well as the belt that was wrapped around her neck and the pieces that were in his car. They were just they just chose not to, seeing that he already had life.
Right.
There was no point of keeping
it, yeah.
Yeah, so he is still in prison.
As he should be.
Yeah.
Because, like, the first victims alone, like, it was just, everything was just extreme with this guy. Everything was an extreme. Like, the stabbing, the amount of times, that's excessive. Thank goodness they got him. It is not like one of those cases where, like, 50 years down the line, they're like, oh, we finally found him. Yeah, like, after he's already an old shriveled up man. He got like 2 days to be dust. Wow, we made it through that episode with sore throats and
yeah. I mean, you got it worse than me, but
I know I sound like what Barry White over here. Like sound like I'm at the Keith Sweat Hotel, whatever that thing is called. Like my voice sounds horrible.
All right, so you doing the question this week or me?
You are. I did it last week.
You're right.
Okay. It is on you. Did you get the 3,000 questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we accidentally brought the wrong book.
Yeah,
and we had 2,000 questions.
Although I said that was fine.
We'll bring it now. I'll bring it. I honestly forgot it, so I'm looking online again.
Just randomly pick one, like 1, 2, 3, any, meeny, miny, mo. I kind of don't want to say that because they're really like serious question, light one, serious question, serious question, light.
Serious question that we can't answer on the spot.
I know. So, you figure it out. Don't look at me, look at the paper. I really woke up this morning, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to talk because it was really like, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is bad. I'm on my second cup of tea now.
Oh, well, since we're talking about tea, do you know what an Arnold Palmer is? And if so, do you like it?
No, what is that?
Half tea, half lemonade.
Oh, wow. Why did you say half tea, half lemonade?
Because it asked, did you know what an Arnold Palmer is?
It's pretty good. I mean, I got nothing against it.
That's what I get from Starbucks to keep me alive. A Trenta black tea lemonade with the classic. It's excessive, but I put like 8 pumps of classic.
This is what happens when you have
I split it because I don't drink it all in one day, but I split it over like 2 to 3 days.
Just so I don't have when you know someone that work at Starbucks, because I was like, you got to write that one down. I'm gonna try that one. Black tea keeps me up, so
yeah,
that's what I'm drinking now.
But you got to get more tea than lemonade to for it to really kick.
Yep, I like that question. Though that was a pretty simple one.
Working at Starbucks was a lot of experimentation.
I like that question. That one was easy.
Yeah, we were talking about tea, and we're drinking tea.
And we're drinking a lot of tea, which, by the way, our cups are so cute.
Thank you.
You did a really good job on them. I'm like really proud of you.
So I posted in the story the video as I was making them, but I never actually posted a picture of the cups. So we'll do that today.
Oh yeah, okay. Today we'll do it.
Yeah,
we have a lot of other stuff to post today, but I like this listener choice. Like, I like the fact, because that was a good one. I don't think that was on either one of our lists beforehand.
No, it wasn't.
No, that's cool. I like that one. So let's see.
Autumn.
Yeah, thank you so much, Autumn. Woo woo. You the best. Shout out to you. But yeah, so next month we'll see. I think we already got the listener choice for next month. But you guys,
it'll be your turn.
Yep, you guys keep sending in suggestions, and we will try to get them all covered.
Thank you for listening to Crime in a Minute. You can find the transcripts, pictures we've discussed, as well as the links to our references at our website. There, you can also find the links to all of our social media. If you have a case you'd like us to talk about, You can leave a comment down below or go to the Contact Us page of the website and leave a suggestion. Each month, we will choose one for an episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps a lot.